And as you say, there is a safe atmosphere. It does need to be done in I sort of call it a formal, informal way. In other words, it's got to have a leadership there, but it's got to be relaxed enough for these people to feel that they can ask those questions and not, oh, you stupid person asking that. No, if that person's got that question, it needs to be addressed and dealt with.
Well, exactly. So the two things there are, on the one hand, you must have a respect for every question that's asked. And some people will ask very defensive, very angry questions. So they've got to be, the question has got to be dealt with. And you're also looking to see, you know, what's the question behind the question. So there's that issue of respecting what they ask. But the second thing is just being very gentle with people. So you hear it, but also as you answer the question, there's a real sense of, well, this is right at the heart of their life. So what does that mean to really be gentle with them? So that can come out, and then in that gentleness and that respect, here's the other issue: you hope there's going to be reality. Now, if people aren't being real, so if at the beginning of the course people say, "Well, I'm not going to ask my question," then you don't get any reality on the table. And I keep saying to people, I say, "Look, you've got to be real. If you're not being real, we're wasting our time. You please put on the table the question you've got." I remember a question on the table. A guy sitting next to me, he said, "Well, I'm told God is all loving and all powerful," and he said, "Do you believe that?" And round the table, me and the two leaders said, "You know, well, we do." And then he said, "Well, if God is all loving and all powerful, why did my mother commit suicide?" Now that's
a question.
That's a question on lots of levels. And it's not a question that, I mean, you talk about doing work with the cults. You know, the thing that defines the cults is they have an immediate answer for everything. But, you know, that's a question where you've got to step back and you've got to say, you know, that is a desperately difficult question on lots of levels, but perhaps we can inch towards it in different ways. So I think that sense of gentleness, respect, and reality, we're hoping for that.
Tell us a little bit about Christianity's broad of the way it builds up. As you say, it's based on Mark's Gospel, and again, I mean, because my style of preaching is I like to preach through a book, you know, and so I actually found the structure for me was very helpful. But take us a little bit through it as to how it builds up and where do you feel there are important weeks? I mean, more than others, where you feel, this is where we really need to communicate.
Sure. Well, I'm an evangelist, so my job is to do two things: to communicate the Christian faith to people, but the biggest thing is to train people to feel they can communicate it. So Ephesians 4 verse 12 says that my job is to prepare God's people for works of service, and the work of service particularly is the honour and privilege of credibly presenting Jesus Christ. Now, the reason that a lot of people would use one or two different gospel outlines, which are fine in themselves, but they wouldn't use gospels, is they pick up the gospel and they think, you know, I just couldn't go through it. So the key to Mark's gospel is that we found there were 3 words that summarized just about every verse of Mark's gospel. So the lay person, just the average person who's concerned about their friend, can suddenly think, well, I can do that. I can go through Mark because it's just 3 words. Now the words are, I think we can get them up on the screen perhaps, I don't know, identity, mission and call.
Is this one on the overheads?
Yeah, one of the overheads.
Yeah.
So it's identity, who is Jesus? Mission, why did he come? Call, what does it mean to follow him? And you know...
No, oh, sorry, yeah.
That's it,
there we are. We finally get
now,
there.
that's Mark's Gospel. And the reason... I mean, there are about 4,000 courses running at any one time, but the reason this is in lots of languages, we're just translating into Chinese, and we've had tremendous excitement coming back. But the reason is that is so simple. So a really good idea, I think, in 10 seconds you can explain it. And I sit down with a pastor, with a baby Christian or whoever, and I say, look, here's Mark's Gospel in 3 words. Who is Jesus? Why did he come? What does it mean to follow him? Identity, mission, call. I say, get 3 highlighters, you can colour in the whole gospel under those 3 headings, and suddenly they start going, well, if it's that simple, I can do it. Now, the 4th word is blindness. You see, the disciples are blind to who Jesus is and why he came and what it means to follow him, and that gives drama. Because in every passage you look down and you say, well, which one of these 3 can't they see? Which one of these 3 are they blind to?
Yes.
And that's why there's that other picture, do you see, of a woman's face. I don't know if you can pick that up.
Yeah, we can.
Let's have a look at that. Now, there's an old lady and a young lady in the picture there. I hope you can see them both. The young woman is turning away.
It took us 10 minutes. Well, no, I'd seen it before, but yeah, you can see it now very, very clearly. Yeah.
Well, there are two faces there. Trust me, I'm a clergyman. There are two faces, but now if we just hold it there, that is Mark 1 verse 1. Jesus has two faces. The opening of the gospel is the beginning of the gospel about Jesus Christ, the Son of God. So it says Jesus Christ is not just a man, he's God. But here's the issue. The disciples are blind. Often I say with Mark's gospel, I say, write the word blindness over the top of Mark's gospel, because the disciples can't see who Jesus is. Right. They can't see why he came. They can't see what it means to follow him, nor can the religious authorities, nor can a myriad of other people in the gospel. And then the question is, well, can you see? About 3 years ago, I was having lunch in London, and I went to have lunch with a father and son, and I'd taken the funeral of the grandparents in the family, two grandparents, of the wife of that man who was also the mother of the other boy, the son, and of the sister. So I'd done 4 funerals of the family, one family. And so as I turned up, I was feeling very churned up, just thinking, what do I say to these dear guys, John and Sam, who I turned up to see? And I turned up at 5 to 1 at this restaurant. It was quite a nice restaurant, so I just pitched up, not where on my salary you can normally afford to go at all, but I just pitched up. And I turned up, and I was standing on some back stairs just at the end of a corridor, waiting to go into the meal. There were these stands, there were some stairs there, and you just walked into the restaurant, there were some stairs and a little corridor. And there was a guy standing opposite me, and he did look familiar. I looked at him, I thought, well, I've seen him before. And it was as though he was waiting for me to say something to him, but I didn't say anything. And the English never do we? We no, I mean, we're never... So I just stood there for 5 minutes, and he looked at me, and he was waiting for me to say something. I didn't say anything, but he did look familiar. And after 5 minutes at 1 o'clock, someone came round the corner, walked down a bit of the corridor, and said, William, there you are. We're in the back dining room. We'd lost you. It was Prince William. And I had 5 minutes in a corridor with him when he'd had nothing better to do than speak to me, because when I looked at him, I didn't see Prince William. I just saw a handsome, big guy. He's quite a big guy.
Yeah.
It's a big shot. I mean, I could have taken him, but he's a big guy. And I just missed it, and I missed the opportunity.
Yeah.
Now, in Mark's gospel, it's exactly the same. Jesus walks through the gospel saying, and Mark says he's not just a man, he's the Son of God. Here is his authority over nature. Here's his authority over death. The disciples can't see who he is. Can you see? And the momentum of the book builds until the climax on identity of Mark 8, verse 29, where Jesus says to Peter, who do you think I am? Who do you say I am? And Peter says, you're the Christ. At last he's got it. And then we go on to the next question, and why did Jesus come? And Jesus says, I'm going to Jerusalem, and Peter puts his arm around his shoulder and said, Jesus, don't you talk about dying? You're not going to Jerusalem. We're going to Jerusalem. You move into number 10 Downing Street. I'm moving to number 11. You're not going to go and die. So Peter can see who Jesus is, but he can't see why he died, and that unleashes the next part of the story. Can you see why Jesus has come? So at the cross, he's crucified. The soldiers think the main legacy, Mark 15 verse 24, are the clothes. The main thing you get from the cross are the clothes. The religious authorities shout, he saved himself, he saved others, he can't save himself. He's not saving others, he's not saving himself because he is saving others. The bystander says, let's see if Elijah rescues him. He's just detached, let's see if he's rescued. But the centurion, the climax of Mark's gospel, Mark 15 verse 39 says, you're the Son of God. His eyes are opened. And so there's that drama of the book culminating with a Gentile centurion who's just led the murder squad of God's Son, seeing who Jesus is. And it's so simple and yet so profound. And that's why Mark's gospel, I think, or that's why Christianity Explored, as it just goes through Mark's gospel, is exciting people.
I found, and certainly, as you say, at the end there, where you've got 3 very different reactions,
yes,
and it really enables you to communicate with people. Basically, you are going to have one of these reactions, and you can take them through it. And what I find so helpful is you're not saying, it's you. What you're doing is you're saying, here is this person, they have that reaction. Is that you?
Yeah.
Because if it's you, see what that means.